When most people think of Rome, they think of the Romans. But have you ever wondered about the people who came before them? Well, today we're looking at Roman history from 753 to 476 AD. This is a history hot tip. If you like this kind of content, please consider supporting the channel for more videos like this one. Now, when we talk about Roman history, it's important to note that there are two major periods. The first is ancient Roman history, which covers the period from the founding of the city in legend until the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. The second period is medieval or later ancient history, beginning with the establishment of the Byzantine Empire in the East in 330 AD and ending with the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Today, though, we will be focusing on the first period, ancient Roman history, from 753 BC to 476 AD, and the early medieval period immediately following. So let's begin in the beginning. According to tradition, Rome was founded in the year 753 BC by Romulus, who killed his twin brother Remus after the two of them had been raised by a she-wolf. Over the next few centuries, Rome grew from a small village into a city and established itself as a regional power. In 509 BC, the Romans overthrew their last king and established a republic, which was then ruled by an elite class of landowners. During the 4th and 3rd centuries BC, Rome fought a series of wars against the Greeks and Carthaginians, culminating in the Punic Wars. The First Punic War was fought over control of Sicily and other Western Mediterranean territories. And despite Rome's victory, their dominance in the Mediterranean was challenged. By the rise of Carthage, this would come to a head in the Second Punic War, where Hannibal Barca led his armies across the Alps to invade Italy itself. But ultimately, Rome would prevail and claim North Africa and Spain for themselves. The next century saw Rome grow from a regional power to a Mediterranean superpower. The Roman conquest of the Hellenistic kingdoms in the East and the Achaean League in Greece brought the entire Mediterranean under Roman control. By 146 BC, Rome was arguably the most powerful state in the ancient world. But this growing empire would cause problems for Rome as it became increasingly difficult to govern over such a vast area. To make matters worse, during the 2nd century BC, Rome experienced a series of civil wars that nearly destroyed the Republic. Marius and Sulla's struggle for power inaugurated a long period of civil conflict between rival generals, including the famous Caesar, Pompey, Crassus, and Mark Antony. These conflicts culminated in a full-blown civil war between Octavian and Mark Antony. And when Octavian won, he was granted the title Augustus and became the first emperor of Rome in 27 BC. The Pax Romana, or Roman peace, that followed Augustus's accession to power was a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity throughout the empire. But while the western provinces enjoyed relative peace, the eastern provinces were constantly at war with various nomadic tribes, a problem that would only get worse in later years. The 2nd century AD is often referred to as the Golden Age of Rome because it witnessed the height of Roman power and prosperity. Under the rule of Hadrian, Antoninus, and Marcus Aurelius, Rome stretched from Britain to the Middle East and North Africa. Despite the size of the empire, trade flourished, and the arts and literature reached new heights. However, towards the end of the 2nd century, the Antonine Plague swept across the empire, killing millions. The plague devastated the Roman population and economy and has been linked to climate change and the end of the Golden Age of Rome. In 180 AD, the reign of Commodus, son of the beloved Marcus Aurelius, marked a sharp decline in fortune for Rome. Commodus was unpopular and ineffectual as emperor, leaving the government in the hands of his powerful mother, Faustina the Younger. His assassination in 192 AD ushered in a new era of instability and violence in Rome. For the next century, the 3rd century, Rome suffered from a series of crises that nearly destroyed the empire. The Severan dynasty that came to power after Commodus was unable to effectively rule the sprawling empire. The crisis was made even worse by a series of natural disasters and economic downturns that struck the Roman world. In 193, Emperor Septimius Severus died and was succeeded by his elder son, Caracalla. Although Caracalla is remembered for granting Roman citizenship to all free inhabitants of the empire, he was also responsible for some of the worst atrocities committed by any Roman emperor. After Caracalla's assassination in 217, the empire was plunged into chaos once again. Throughout the rest of the century, Rome would be ruled by a series of short-lived emperors who were more interested in pursuing their own interests than those of the empire. This period, known as the Crisis of the 3rd Century, saw Rome lose control of its northern and western provinces. But in 284, Diocletian came to power and began a process of reform that saved the empire from collapse. Diocletian reorganized the administration, reformed the army, and introduced a new currency. He also divided the empire into two halves, east and west, with the capital in Nicomedia and the administrative center in Milan. This division would become permanent in the 4th century and lead to the creation of two distinct Roman empires, each with their own set of rulers. Under Constantine the Great, the empire experienced a revival. Constantine moved the capital of the Western Roman Empire to the city of Byzantium in 330, renaming it Constantinople. He also ended the persecution of Christians and made Christianity legal in 313. However, Constantine's Edict of Milan did not make Christianity the official religion of the empire. That would not happen until 380. Following Constantine, the empire fell back into a period of instability and decline. The Western Roman Empire was plagued by civil wars, economic crises, and attacks from Germanic and other barbarian tribes. In 410, Rome was sacked by Visigoths, and in 455, the Vandals sacked Rome. Finally, in 476, the Germanic general Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, and established his own kingdom in Italy. With this, the Western Roman Empire came to an end. However, the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire continued on for another century until the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople in 1453. All right, now that we know a little bit about Roman history, let's look at the geography of the Roman Empire. At its greatest extent, the Roman Empire encompassed much of the Mediterranean world, including modern-day Italy, Spain, France, Portugal, Greece, Turkey, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. The heartland of the empire was the Italian peninsula, which contained the cities of Rome, Florence, Milan, and Venice. This region was characterized by its mountainous terrain and fertile valleys, which provided food for the growing population of Rome. In the Mediterranean Sea, Rome controlled Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, and Malta, as well as the Balearic Islands off the coast of Spain. Across the Alps in Europe, Rome ruled over Gaul, which included modern-day France, Belgium, Switzerland, and parts of Germany and Austria. To the north of Gaul was Britannia or Britain, which was conquered by Rome in the 1st century AD. However, only the southern part of the island was under direct Roman control. Across the sea in Africa, Rome controlled the province of Africa, which was located in modern-day Tunisia, as well as parts of Egypt and Cyrenaica, which is located in modern-day Libya. The Near East was also a critical part of the Roman Empire. Rome's control over Egypt gave them access to the riches of the East and allowed them to maintain a strong military presence in the region. They also controlled Judea, which was home to the important religious sites of Jerusalem and Bethlehem. While the Roman Empire was at its largest during the 2nd century AD, by the 3rd century, it had lost much of its territory in Europe and the Near East. By the time of the Western Empire's collapse in 476, Rome only controlled Italy, parts of Spain, and North Africa. Although the Roman Empire spanned vast distances, the vast majority of its population was concentrated in the western half. Italy, Gaul, and Spain were the most densely populated regions of the empire. In contrast, the eastern half was much less densely populated. The Roman Empire was overwhelmingly rural, with the vast majority of people living in small villages. However, there were several important urban centers. Rome was the capital of the empire and the seat of government. It was also the largest city in the empire, with a population of over 1 million people. Other important cities included Carthage in Africa, Alexandria in Egypt, Antioch in Syria, and Constantinople, the new capital of the empire. All right, let's wrap this up. Rome is one of the most important civilizations in human history. Its contributions to law, language, architecture, engineering, and culture are immeasurable. The Roman Empire was one of the first truly global empires, and its influence can still be seen today in the languages, laws, and customs of many countries around the world. If you want to learn more about Rome, there are plenty of resources available. There are books, documentaries, and even online courses that can help you learn more about this fascinating civilization. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please consider supporting the channel so I can keep making them. Picture this. It's 509 BC, and the tension in Rome is electric. The Romans are fed up with their Etruscan king's rule. Like, seriously, they've had enough. So what do? They rise up, overthrow him, and boom, a republic is born. Can you feel the buzz in the air as they draft a new constitution? It's all about giving the power back to the people, letting them elect their leaders for just 1 year. If someone's not cutting it, they can totally be voted out. It's like a political refresh button, right? Now let's shift gears a bit. In times of crisis, the Romans don't just sit back and hope for the best. Nope. They bring in a dictator to take charge until things settle down. It's a smart move, really. This new system is a total game changer. Rome starts to rise and shine, quickly taking over the Italian peninsula. Can you imagine the thrill of watching this city grow and transform? What a wild ride it must have been. Now, let's jump to 390 BC. The Gauls are at the gates, sacking Rome. But hold on, this disaster turns into a golden opportunity. With the city in ruins, Rome has the perfect reason to rally its forces and wage war across Italy. It's like the ultimate comeback story. As the dust settles, only a couple of independent states remain: Carthage in North Africa and Greece. Can you feel the tension? Rome is on the brink of something huge, ready to take on the world. The First Punic War kicks off with a fierce battle for Sicily. Picture this. Rome, fueled by ambition, emerges victorious and snags control of both Sicily and Sardinia. But hold on, it comes at a hefty price. Rome is left bankrupt. Fast forward to 264 BC, and we're diving into the Second Punic War. Here comes Hannibal Barca, the brilliant Carthaginian general, who takes a daring march across the Alps right into northern Italy. Can you believe it? He defeats several Roman armies along the way, but Rome, being resourceful, hires mercenaries to turn the tide. Scene 3 brings us to 202 BC, where the epic Battle of Zama unfolds. Hannibal faces defeat, and Carthage loses all its overseas territories, forced to become a Roman province. Jump to 149 BC, and the Third Punic War wraps up with a bang. Carthage is utterly destroyed. Its people sold into slavery, and the territory morphs into the Roman province of Africa. Now, let's zoom out to see the big picture. Rome is flexing its muscles, dominating the Mediterranean. It controls most of the western half and has a huge influence over the east. Imagine a bustling city with a population nearing 1 million. The Tiber River is dammed to provide fresh water, while an aqueduct brings in water from a spring 12 miles away. Scene 6 is all about infrastructure. Roads crisscross Italy and the provinces, with the famous Appian Way connecting Rome to the rest of the country. Roman law is getting a makeover, codified into what we now know as the Justinian Code. We see a society buzzing with activity. Slaves toil in mines across Italy and Spain, pulling out silver and lead. Gladiators entertain the masses in grand amphitheaters, while wealthy Romans indulge in lavish entertainment. Think gold coins tossed from towers, thrilling chariot races, and wild animal hunts. And let's not forget the adventurous Roman merchants who travel the known world to trade their goods. Quite the era, right? Fast forward to the aftermath of Caesar's assassination. Enter Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, who takes on Brutus and Cassius at the Battle of Philippi. Spoiler alert, he wins. This victory earns him the title of Augustus. And just like that, he becomes the first emperor of Rome. Talk about a glow-up. This brings us to a golden age known as the Pax Romana, which lasts from 27 BC to 14 AD. Imagine a time when peace reigns across the empire. No wars, just prosperity. Trade is booming, and new roads, aqueducts, and temples pop up everywhere. The population of Rome skyrockets to around 2.5 million. Isn't that wild? Let's dive into agriculture. Farms are thriving, specializing in different crops. Vines are busy growing grapes for wine. Olive groves are churning out oil, and wheat fields are feeding the ever-growing population. But here's the catch. Most of the heavy lifting is done by slaves, who are bought and sold in bustling markets across the empire. Introduces a darker side to this era. While the empire flourishes, Christians face persecution from the Roman government. It's a tough time for those who dare to follow their beliefs. Now, we take a somber turn. The Jewish War wraps up in 70 AD with the heartbreaking destruction of Jerusalem and the Temple of Solomon. The Jewish people are exiled from their homeland, marking a significant and painful chapter in their history. Finally, we meet Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian who pens a history of the Jews in 131 AD. His work captures the essence of a people's struggle and resilience, ensuring that their story is not forgotten. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour through a pivotal time in history. In 218 AD, young Elagabalus ascends to power. But let's be real, his grandmother, Julia Maesa, is the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. She's a real powerhouse, naming her other grandson, Alexander Severus, as Elagabalus's heir. But Elagabalus, as the boy emperor, isn't exactly winning hearts. He's so unpopular that, tragically, he meets his end at just 18 years old. Enter Vespasian, a tough general who steps up to put down the revolt in Judea. With a firm hand, he takes the throne and establishes the Flavian dynasty. His rule? Well, let's just say it's all about keeping control. Fast forward to 79 AD, and things take a dramatic turn when Mount Vesuvius erupts. Imagine the scene. Ash and pumice raining down, burying the bustling cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Thousands lose their lives, and those cities are left frozen in time under 20 feet of debris. Jump ahead to 96 AD, and we meet Nerva, who becomes emperor. He's got a plan. By adopting Trajan as his heir, he's looking to secure the future of Rome. Plus, he rolls out reforms to win the hearts of the Roman people. Smart move, right? Now let's talk about 117 AD. Trajan is on a roll, conquering Dacia in the east and expanding the empire to its greatest size ever. Picture a network of roads, military bases, and supply depots popping up everywhere. In 118 AD, Trajan has a royal visit from the king of the Parthians. The king presents him with a shiny gold crown. But Trajan? He graciously declines, stating the only crown he desires is the one already on his head. The crowd in Rome goes wild. The Dacian Wars kick off and Rome is on fire, figuratively speaking, of course. They defeat the Dacians, securing the northern border of the empire. It's a huge win for Trajan and the Roman legions. But wait, there's more. After Trajan's passing, Hadrian steps into the spotlight as the new emperor. He's not just a ruler, he's a traveler, exploring every corner of the empire. Hadrian's got some serious architectural flair, too. He builds Hadrian's Wall in Britain, a massive structure that stands as a testament to Roman engineering. It's like the ultimate boundary marker. And here's a twist. Hadrian also cares about people. He issues an edict making it illegal to shackle slaves to chariots or treat them cruelly. It's a big step toward a more humane society in the empire. How cool is that? In 218 AD, young Elagabalus ascends to power. But let's be real. His grandmother, Julia Maesa, is the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. She's a real powerhouse, naming her other grandson, Alexander Severus, as Elagabalus's heir. But Elagabalus, as the boy emperor, isn't exactly winning hearts. He's so unpopular that, tragically, he meets his end at just 18 years old. In 138 AD, the Roman Empire welcomes Antoninus Pius as its new emperor. He's celebrated as the best of the good emperors, bringing a wave of optimism and stability across the empire. The people are hopeful, and the atmosphere is vibrant. Marcus Aurelius takes the throne. Fast forward to 161 AD, Marcus Aurelius steps into power alongside his brother Lucius as co-emperors. With a thoughtful demeanor, Marcus starts jotting down his reflections in Meditations, a book that blends philosophy with the realities of life, captivating minds for centuries. The Antonine Plague strikes. Suddenly, chaos erupts as the Antonine Plague sweeps through the empire, claiming millions of lives. Some speculate it was smallpox, and for 5 long years, the empire faces a relentless struggle against this devastating illness. Marcus Aurelius versus the Germanic tribes. In the midst of turmoil, Marcus Aurelius proves his mettle by defeating the Germanic tribes to the north. His military prowess shines as he leads his troops with determination, ensuring the safety of the empire's borders. Campaigning in Dacia. On his campaigns in Dacia, Marcus discovers the previous emperor Trajan's mismanagement of the province. With wisdom and strategy, he divides Dacia between Rome and the king of the Quadi, aiming to restore balance and peace. The rise of Septimius Severus. By 180 AD, Septimius Severus rises to power, shifting the focus of the empire. He's all about the military, diving headfirst into campaigns across Britain, Germania, and along the Danube River, showcasing his ambition and strength. The death of Severus. In 193 AD, the empire faces a turning point with the death of Septimius Severus. His sons, Caracalla and Geta, take the reins, sharing power but not without tension brewing beneath the surface. Caracalla's currency revolution. Caracalla, eager to make his mark, introduces a new currency to replace the old denarius. This bold move shakes up the economy, stirring excitement and uncertainty among the citizens. Elagabalus invasion. In a dramatic twist, Elagabalus invades Parthia, launching a fierce assault that leads to the sacking of the city of Ctesiphon. The Parthians, caught off guard, retreat to their mountain strongholds, leaving a trail of chaos behind. The murder of Caracalla. The saga takes a dark turn in 211 AD when Caracalla is murdered, a shocking act orchestrated by his own mother, Julia Maesa. The empire holds its breath as power dynamics shift once again, setting the stage for new leaders and new challenges ahead. In 218 AD, young Elagabalus ascends to power, but let's be real. His grandmother, Julia Maesa, is the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. She's a real powerhouse, naming her other grandson, Alexander Severus, as Elagabalus's heir. But Elagabalus, as the boy emperor, isn't exactly winning hearts. He's so unpopular that, tragically, he meets his end at just 18 years old. Fast forward to 235 AD, and Maximinus Thrax takes the throne. This guy isn't winning any popularity contests either. He raises taxes and puts the squeeze on the people, making life pretty miserable. But karma catches up with him in 238 AD, when he's murdered by his own grandmother, Julia Maesa. Guess who's back in the game? That's right, her grandson, Alexander Severus. He steps in, trying to restore some semblance of order, and even introduces minting reforms. But the economy is still in shambles, and grain shortages hit Rome hard. By 251 AD, the Goths invade the Balkans, stirring up even more chaos. Then, in 253 AD, the unthinkable happens. Alexander Severus is killed by his own grandmother, who declares her son, Balbinus, and grandsons, Pupienus and Gordianus, as the new emperors. Gordianus heads to Africa to tackle the grain crisis, but sadly dies on the journey. Now, Balbinus and Pupienus are left to rule together in Rome. In 254 AD, the Goths deliver a crushing blow at the Battle of Abritus, forcing Rome to cough up a massive ransom to get them to retreat. The blame falls squarely on Balbinus and Pupienus, leading to their murder by Praetorian soldiers. Julia Maesa steps back into the limelight, and her grandson, Philip the Arab, becomes emperor. He tries to bring stability, But the empire is on a downward spiral, culminating in the sacking of Rome by the Goths. In a dramatic twist, Philip flees to his palace in the hills outside the city, but his fate is sealed in 274 AD when he's killed by none other than his own son, Numerian. What a wild ride through history, right? The power struggles, betrayals, and the relentless quest for control paint a vivid picture of the chaos that was the Roman Empire during these tumultuous years. 476 AD marks a pivotal moment in history when the Germanic general Odoacer topples Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of West Rome. Picture this. Just 15 years earlier, Rome was the heart of an empire that spanned most of Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. Now, it's just another province in the Ostrogothic kingdom. What on earth happened? How did such a mighty empire crumble? Historians are still scratching their heads over this one. In 284 AD, a dramatic shift occurs as Diocletian rises to power, becoming emperor. Picture the scene, a bustling Roman court where Diocletian confidently strides in, ready to reform the government and strengthen the military. He's not just another ruler, he's about to change the game. The division of the empire. Fast forward to the moment Diocletian decides to split the empire into two distinct halves, East Rome and West Rome. Imagine the tension in the air as he establishes Nicomedia as the new capital in the east, with each half now under the rule of an Augustus and two Caesars. The Edict of Nicomedia. Jump to 293 AD, where Diocletian issues the Edict of Nicomedia. Visualize the scroll being unrolled, with Diocletian declaring fixed prices on goods and maximum wages for laborers. The goal? To curb inflation. But oh boy, does it flop. The resignation. Now it's 301 AD, and the atmosphere shifts again as Diocletian resigns. His namesake takes the stage as Augustus of East Rome, while Maxentius steps up for the West. The power dynamics are changing, and the audience is on the edge of their seats. A family betrayal. In a shocking twist, Severus Alexander, the Caesar of the East, meets a grim fate at the hands of his own grandmother, Julia Maesa. Picture the darkened room where the plot unfolds, leaving everyone gasping in disbelief. The Battle of the Milvian Bridge. 305 AD brings a fierce battle as Maxentius faces off against Constantine Throne at the Milvian Bridge. The clash of swords and the cries of warriors fill the air. It's a pivotal moment, and the outcome will change everything. The birth of Constantinople. With Maxentius defeated, Constantine establishes Constantinople as the new capital of the empire. Envision the grand architecture rising from the ground, a symbol of a new era, as citizens gather to witness this monumental shift. The Edict of Milan. In 312 AD, the air is charged with excitement as Constantine issues the Edict of Milan, granting religious freedom to Christians across the empire. Imagine the joy and relief on the faces of believers as they finally feel free to practice their faith openly. The rise of Christianity. As Christianity blossoms, it quickly becomes the state religion. Picture vibrant gatherings of Christians, filled with hope and faith, as they celebrate their newfound freedom and the acceptance of their beliefs. A new era. The story culminates in a transformed empire, where the echoes of Diocletian's reforms, the rise of Constantinople, and the acceptance of Christianity shape the future. The stage is set for a new era, filled with possibilities and challenges ahead. 476 AD marks a pivotal moment in history when the Germanic general Odoacer topples Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of West Rome. Picture this. Just 15 years earlier, Rome was the heart of an empire that spanned most of Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. Now, it's just another province in the Ostrogothic kingdom. What on earth happened? How did such a mighty empire crumble? Historians are still scratching their heads over this one. Fast forward to 378 AD, and things take a dramatic turn. The Goths, fierce and determined, clash with the Romans at the Battle of Adrianople. Can you believe it? This defeat sends shockwaves through the empire, causing Rome to lose its grip on the Balkans. It's a pivotal moment, marking the beginning of a tumultuous era. Now, let's jump to 383 AD, where Theodosius IV steps into the spotlight as the Emperor of the East. But wait, the plot thickens. In 389 AD, Magnus Maximus tries to seize power in the West. This guy is ambitious, but his reign is short-lived. He meets his end at the hands of Theodosius's brother Honorius. Talk about family drama. Then comes 410 AD, a date that sends chills down the spine of Romans everywhere. The Visigoths sack Rome for the first time ever. Imagine the chaos as they storm the city, leaving with a hefty ransom. But the troubles don't stop there. In 418 AD, the Vandals invade and take over the Roman province of Africa, and by 455 AD, they too sack Rome. It's a wild ride through history, don't you think? 476 AD marks a pivotal moment in history when the Germanic general Odoacer topples Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of West Rome. Picture this. Just 15 years earlier, Rome was the heart of an empire that spanned most of Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia. Now, it's just another province in the Ostrogothic kingdom. What on earth happened? How did such a mighty empire crumble? Historians are still scratching their heads over this one. Imagine the vastness of the Roman Empire. It was enormous, and as it expanded, defending it became a Herculean task. Now, let's talk about the emperors. Many were either too young, too old, or just plain sick. This created a perfect storm for power-hungry generals and shady advisors to swoop in. Next up is the economy. Picture a shaky foundation, frequent currency devaluations, and sky-high taxes. Add in the poverty and inequality that plagued the citizens. It was a recipe for disaster. And don't forget the external threats. The Persians in the east and various Germanic tribes in the north were relentless. These pressures mounted until they became too much for Rome to handle. That's the classic story of Rome's fall, right? But wait, some historians argue that Rome didn't really fall at all. They claim that even after 476 AD, Rome lived on in the Middle Ages as the Papal States. Scene 9. It's a hotly debated topic, but what's not up for debate is Rome's significance in history. Think about its incredible contributions to art, architecture, literature, law, politics, and culture. The impact of Rome is truly immeasurable, and its legacy continues to shape our world today. Isn't that something to think about? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this one.